My name is Dr. Rob Parks. I am the Deputy Director here at George Mason Observatory, and I also spearhead the public outreach events that we have associated with the university. Most specifically, I take telescopes and our inflatable planetarium to communities that usually don't have the resources to experience those sorts of tools.
My name is Johnathan Saldana. I'm one of the tour guides here at George Mason of its observatory here, and I'm an undergraduate. I'm a junior at this point. This is George Mason's observatory moving to a target to begin our Evening Under the Stars viewing session. We began with looking at Orion's nebula, and you can see us here setting up our eyepiece observing, so we could give everyone the perfect view of one of the largest nebulas in our night sky. In addition, we also had some smaller telescopes set up right outside the dome for some smaller targets. The moon was out, and it was just perfect through telescopes of that size. As we began setting up, we started to set up the final aspects of these smaller telescopes on the outside, including using our software in the control room to make sure that the telescope pointed exactly where it needed to.
The question is the similarities between art and science. So obviously I am very familiar with the science end of the aspect of things. But I believe that the core of both art and science is to inspire, to have people think about the environment around them and the issues therein. They have a comment on really the human condition. From an astronomy point of view, one of the things that I find most compelling about astronomy is that it puts, for me, everything into perspective, in the sense that we are but a small rocky body in an immense universe, in an immense creation. And I have found that while some people look at that and feel that that in fact makes humanity somehow insignificant, I take it the exact opposite direction. I think that makes us exceedingly significant, because in such a vast universe, there is only one place where humanity exists, and it is here on Earth. And it also tells me that this is our home, this is our only home, and we need to nurture it and we need to protect it. And so with art, on the side of art, I think that the art that is most compelling to me is also art that shows the human condition and talks about issues surrounding us and challenging us, from social issues to environmental issues and things of that nature. In terms of the similarities between them, obviously with the scientific method is we first observe something. And I think that is also true with artists. They look at the universe around them and they see it and they experience it. For science, we do that same thing, and then we ask a question. We ask the question of why. Why does the sun rise? Why does the sun set? Why do the planets go around in their orbits? Why do galaxies behave the way they do and collide and do all sorts of marvelous things? We ask those questions. And then we think about how we're going to answer that question. What sorts of observations can we make? And what sorts of models that we can create that will best explain what is going on there? And so our ultimate goal is to describe the universe in a very practical sort of way, where you can make predictions and you can then see whether or not those predictions come true. If they don't, then we go back to the drawing board, we think again, we imagine again, and we create another model, and we make another set of observations until we get it right, until things match up, until we have confidence that our understanding matches the reality that we see. In terms of art, again, I'm not an artist, but my opinion on that is art approaches it a little bit differently, in that art also seeks to describe, but I think it's more on an internal level, is that the artist looks at the universe, universe around them, And instead of asking why it's doing that, what I think the artist does is they ask the question, what sort of impact does that have on us? What does that say about the human condition? How does what we see around us affect the human condition? And so they themselves are also asking that very important question, why? And really that ties into the reality, or that ties into trying to understand the immense questions of reality. Science is only but one avenue to explore the universe. Art is yet another. And if we are to have a conception, or a complete sort of conception of who we are as a people and where we are in the universe, we can't just simply rely on science. We also need the arts, and we need philosophy, we need theology, we need all of these other ideas to work in concert to answer these questions. With art, it is a visualization. It is a needed visualization, because I think, from a scientific point of view, we talk about climate change, for example. We talk about the doomsday scenarios and thing, and what we've done to the planet and how it's changing. But we just have these plots. And really, I don't believe that they are really impactful. I mean, people can look at them, people can see them, and people can intellectually understand them. But I don't think there's an emotional connection. And that is where art is needed. Art is profoundly emotional. I think at its core, art is emotion. And so we need the artist to be able to give that sort of emotional impact to scientific understanding or scientific discoveries.
Before this, we had our talk by our guest speaker, Dr. Hakeem Oluseyi. Afterwards, it was an incredibly clear night. We could see the moon, we could see a whole lot of constellations, including Orion and Sirius, as well as some other smaller ones like the Pleiades cluster. We had about 50 members of the public and George Mason students come by, which was an incredibly populated night. We had a lot of fun showing everyone just how powerful our telescope can be, how we take images through our powerful software and telescope.
In terms of an intersection between art and astronomy, we have something known as astrophotography. And that's one of the things that I highlight at the beginning of our Evening Under the Stars, is that our students will create images that are three-color, they try to represent what we would actually see if we were in a spacecraft right next to that object and we can see it. But it is more of an art than it is a science, because if you look at the images created by Hubble, and more specifically JWST, the individual images they get are monochrome, they're grayscale. And the way that they create the images that they have is they take images in different colors and they combine them together. With JWST specifically, JWST is the science that they're interested in is in the infrared part of the spectrum. It is light that we cannot see with our human eye. So those images certainly aren't what we would see if we were there. And so what goes into that, what I think goes into that, is when NASA or when the folks at JWST who do employ graphic designers, when they put those images together, there is a certain artistic flair that goes into it, in that they highlight the most dramatic aspects of the image or of the galaxy or the nebula that we're looking at. They try to bring out the more dynamic changes or dynamic differences between different areas in nebulae and where stars are actually forming or how galaxies are interacting. And so while they are not true to life, while they are not what the universe actually looks like in terms of what we would see biologically, they are true to life in the sense that there is a human aspect to it. There is a certain emotion, there is a certain intention to, not to overuse the word, to inspire. they're not trying to deceive anyone. They're not trying to say, they're not trying to invent anything, but they are trying to really color the universe in such a way that when you look at it, you can understand the majesty of what is going on physically in those objects, in that nebula, in those galaxies. And so that they're true, that in that sense, art does meet astronomy. So the Evening Under the Stars is a talk series that we've been doing actually for a number of years now. It was actually started under the tenure of Harold Geller, Dr. Harold Geller, who was the original director of our observatory. It was through his efforts that we have this lovely instrument behind me. The Evening Under the Stars event, the rationale or the reason why we do it is to engage with the public. We bring in astronomers and people who are closely associated with the astronomical community to give a talk, to a public interest talk, to get people excited and get people inspired with astronomy. And then we couple that with an observatory tour. So not only do we talk about space, but we give them a taste of it. We allow them to look through our telescope and look at objects ranging from the moon to planets to nebulae to even galaxies. And so that has been an ongoing project for us. It typically is a every other week event. Sometimes, right now it's on Tuesdays, but in the past it's been on Thursdays. It really depends on our own internal scheduling.